Are the Leafs tough enough? And certainly they've found ways to rectify that situation a bit. And I loved Brad Treliving, what he said. They needed more snot in the lineup, pretty much more
Yeah.
pugnacity. He added Reeves, he added Bertuzzi, he added Domi. Is it enough in your opinion?
Again, I would like a tougher guy on the back end. I would like a more physical defenseman, but you see what they've added, and I mean, you've added this, but you're not going into a team whose mindset is just pure, Philadelphia Flyers from the early '70s, where that doesn't get it done anymore. We realize that. Some people think Reeves is like, well, what's he going to do? If you look at the playoff games that guy has played and how he's been an integral part in playoff runs with teams with high skill. He doesn't parade to the penalty box every time he gets a shift because he's like, oh my gosh, here's my chance to go be a meathead. He's pretty smart about it, and he's proven that. It's not a small sample size. It's his entire career. He's played a ton of playoff games. So I think that's actually, more beneficial than people give it credit. And when you look at the addition of like the Bertuzzis and the Domies and those guys that can play hard nose, that don't back off, that don't look at their skates when there's a little scrum, they got their leading with their chin, going, who did that? Who's that? Who's coming? And that's super important. And we've done that without taking away from all our eggs are in the core four basket, but we've added to add that edge without pulling away from those guys yet. And if you're talking about dealing Willie Nylander, if you open up that hole, the Willie Nylander hole, what can you get in return? I guarantee you right now, Treliving is exercising all options, trying to find the best possible deal if that's the direction that he has to go. And you could probably add a lot of what we're looking for if it's out there for a Willie Nylander.
I'm skeptical about that right now. I just think there's absolutely zero money to go around in this league. Just look at some of the trades the last couple weeks, and I do agree. Like Nylander is a premier talent, and I think in the right market with money, he goes for a haul. But I just don't know if that's going to be right now. But getting back to the point about the team toughness, everybody tries to say it's contagious. I mean, you've been in a locker room. I just don't know if I feel that way with the Marners, the Nylanders, the Matthews, like the Tavareses of the world. I don't know if it's something you can pick up, if that makes sense. Like you bring in a Ryan Reeves. Is anything going to change with these guys when it comes to getting into the corners or getting dirty or, face washing a guy after the whistle? I just don't subscribe to that. Like, and that's what my struggle is like, I understand what they're trying to do. And it's so different than the previous administration with Kyle Dubas, where it's analytics and it's puck possession and it's everything else. And now they want to bring some bite, but I just wonder how much control that's going to have, or effect maybe is a better word, for some of the marquee players on this roster.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. You got to decide on what scale are you talking about. Is Mitch Marner going to go out there and just turn into this power forward beast because Ryan Reeves is on the
Imagine.
team? Of course not. Of course not. But I've played on teams where you have the reputation of being that tough jam team where you don't back down from anything, and it's contagious to a point where, say there's a scrum in front of the bench, and Matthews is involved in it, but Domi's out there with him and they're pushing and shoving. And previously, you're sitting there and you're going, like, they look at their skates because there's nobody out there. There's nobody coming. We have nobody. And because of that, the other team is on their toes. They're playing physical. They're chirping from the bench. They're trying to intimidate. And it's like, God, there's nothing I can do about this. When you have those guys on the team and they're the ones initiating that kind of thing, they're the ones chirping from the bench. They're the ones starting the scrum. All of a sudden, you'll notice that when Matthews in a scrum, he's kind of got his hands up high a little bit and he's giving a guy a face washer. He's got his guy, tied up and their nose to nose. That kind of thing happens. And I've seen teams and players not transform themselves incredibly, but you start to play with a little edge because you're like, hey, I got my boys here. And hey, this is how we play. And that's what rubs off and it's contagious. Is it world changing? No. But is it beneficial? I think absolutely.
You don't think this stuff matters as you watch right now? Just go check out what Barry Trotz said, the GM of the Nashville Predators, regarding the acquisition of Luke Shannon, how he single-handedly, he felt, turned that series a couple years back in the Final Four between the Islanders and the Tampa Bay Lightning, dragging his team into the fight. And that's all you need to hear, especially on guys like Luke Shannon. So I totally agree.